So just before we get started, I just said this, but a few more folks have come in for housekeeping. We are expecting a pretty large turnout today, potentially over 100 people. It's really great to see that much excitement in Civil Engine. So thanks for joining. But if you could mute your mic, and if you do have questions, I will moderate those and basically feed those to Sam once we get into the demonstration portion of this. So yeah, if you add your messages to the chat, I will keep an eye on that and make sure that everyone's getting admitted as we go. So Sam, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Brian. And it's good to see so many of you joining us. This is super exciting. I know my PowerPoint says launch. Today's not the official launch. The official launch is going to be on the 15th. I typed in pre-launch, but it was bleeding onto my box render, so I just called this the launch. But we are going to go over everything that's kind of new since our last live stream a few months ago. So everything from beta to kind of the pre-launch that we're talking about today. And I do have this PowerPoint, but I do want to schedule as much time as possible, set aside as much time as possible to answering your questions. And as Brian mentioned, putting those in the chat box later on will probably be the most effective way to do that. So just a quick outline. I'm going to do a welcome and share a few notes. We'll talk about what's new since the last update, what's upcoming, your role in testing and supporting us, and then also Beyond Cat Studio. And again, if you can mute your mics, I think that's going to help all of us.
Oh, Sam, now you're muted. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
There we go. All right. So by way of introductions, I'm Sam Lytle. I'm the founder of Beyond CAD Incorporated. Civil Engine is kind of my baby. This has been a work in progress in one way or another for pretty much a decade, and focusing almost exclusively on this over the last year. I do want to recognize our team. We've got a number of part-time and full-time individuals helping us. On the part-time side, we've got Adam, Ben, and Johnny. They've all done a lot to help us. And then full-time, we've got Brian that's here on the call. He keeps the trains running around here. Most of you probably know him better than you know myself. So in addition to keeping things moving with the company, he's also helped directly with the development and testing of Civil Engine. So credit to Brian. And then Erin, she's our development lead. I don't know what we'd do without her. She's truly amazing, and she's on the call as well. And then all of you. I mean, we've just had so much support. I think this is a good sign that something like this is needed for our industry. We've all been in need of a better visualization engine for transportation and civil. So appreciate your support. As I mentioned, the public launch is going to be on the 15th. So in 2 weeks. That's going to be both a free trial, a 30-day free trial, just like Beyond Typicals, or you can purchase it at that point. If you do have a purchasing or a procurement process and it takes a while, you can get that started today. You can reach out to Brian on that. And a lot of you are already Beyond Typicals customers, and so we can work with you on prorating or amending whatever your current situation is with Beyond Typicals on tacking on whatever licensing you want for Civil Engine as well. Make sure to watch for updates on LinkedIn. In addition to some of the things I'm showing today, we're going to also be doing a few more things. And that's kind of my way of communicating to the world what we're working on. And we also have a website that you can click on. Our main product website is beyondcad.com/civil engine. And I'm excited to announce we have the civilengine.com domain, so you can go there as well. But if you go to our product page, there's an updates link. It's beyondcad.com/CE updates. That's going to keep a running tally of all of our updates as well. And that goes back several months if you just want to keep up to date on what's new. We will have discounted pricing. The 15th's the launch date, but we're looking at this as like a launch month. So we expect that people are going to be both paying for and using the software from the beginning of the month to the end of the month. And so this is the month to make the purchases, because we're going to be doing discounts. We're not going to stack discounts on top of each other, but there are several ways to get that, like the 30% off, which is about $1,000. And you can use the code BT Loyalty 1000. Brian will post that in the comments. And also, if you do have some sort of purchasing or procurement process, we can add that as a line item on your invoice as well. I do want to make a note that our model is all in pricing. So we don't pretend to like try and do like a bargain bin, lowest cost pricing. Like we want to be something that's very valuable. Um, and I've looked at other business models or pricing models in our industry, people that do stuff similar to us. And a lot of times they'll do a really cheap price, but then they'll like say, okay, but you got to pay us $20,000 and we'll come train your team on this and get you set up. We don't do any of that. Like you just pay our fee, our subscription fee, and with that you get the software access, but you also get our ongoing updates. You get discounts to our other products now that we're a multi-product company. Training resources. We've spent a lot of time developing training resources, and I'll talk about that more in just a little bit. Also, we can do team training with your organization or one-on-one support. And so all of that, when you pay for our software, just remember like there are so many things that you're paying for that we're spending a lot of time and money investing in. And uh, and Brian's very proud of the fact that our customer support for Beyond Typicals is just always rated 5 out of 5 stars on Capterra and anecdotally as well. We really try to make sure that you have a really good experience. And if you are able to purchase Civil Engine or Beyond Typicals, like every purchase supports directly what we're doing. So if you believe in what we're doing and you have the influence or the credibility to make that purchase happen, I mean, obviously, hopefully you're getting incredible value from our software, but also like it really supports what we're trying to do. And this is just the beginning. We have so many plans for the development of our existing products and future products as well. We think that this is just kind of the beginning. So, and again, reach out to Brian if you do have questions on purchasing, Brian at beyondcad.com. All right, so we're going to jump into the updates, and I'm going to jump right into the software. So this is the latest version that I have here. I'm open in a blank scene, and we've done a number of bug fixes. I'm not going to go through all of those, but the ones that come to mind are there was a bug with intersection controllers where when you would do more than one, it wouldn't work. That bug's been fixed. So now intersection controllers do seem very solid. We're going to keep the traffic panel in beta just because the linking still needs work and also the traffic library stuff still needs work, but intersection controllers seem to be very solid. So feel free to test that. And then another kind of improvement or bug fix is the fact that when you were in these panels, you could keep opening them and they would just keep stacking, but now they auto close the other ones. So just there's a ton of little things like that. I guess one other thing that we've done that I'll point out is if you look at the details panel and you search for something, now there are little thumbnails next to them as well. So you'll see just a lot of improvements that we've done in bug fixes and UI improvements. So the first thing I want to cover as far as what's new is the areas tool. And part of what makes this great, and now we have the path tool and the area tool, both of them are going to be very valuable. I do think the path tool, there's more that you can do than the area tool. But either way, in our library, now on all the thumbnails, you have these little icons. So if you wanted to place trees, you can click on it and place it individually like this, or you can place it using a path straight from there. So this is separate from the path presets. And you can do this for every single asset in our library. And then the same is true for an area. So I could just do this, and now it's going to use whatever our default spacing is to create an area straight out of there. So that's a really nice way to use and place assets in scenes. And then everything will show up in the hierarchy based on how you did it. So that one that I placed with an area, it's going to show up here. I can turn that on and off. The one I placed with the path is going to show up here. And then the single placed asset's going to show up here. So that's a really nice, convenient way to place assets in a number of different ways. I do want to jump to the presets though, because I think those are going to be the most useful. So I just showed the beech tree example in the asset library. But if you use the preset, it's going to be better because we have up to 5 asset slots, just like paths. And so this preset uses 3 of those asset slots, and it's using 3 different tree models. And so you're going to get a lot more variety Another good example is this pine tree preset. We have three different pine tree models that are all very similar. We've got the small one, the medium, and then the really tall one. And so if you can use the preset, it's just going to be much faster to place those types of trees than going in and placing one of the pine trees and then adding an asset slot, finding the other one, and so on. So these are just for your convenience. All of this, you can edit it. You can change the parameters here in the details panel. You can obviously move these things around, but areas I think is it's even better than I hoped it would be. And in addition to placing elements using the area system, which is clicking one point at a time, you can also do it using a brush system. And we did this because it's been often requested, and that's how other software do things like this. And so you can place a brush, and what this does, and I think kind of what makes this brilliant, again, credit to Erin for her work on this, but it's not just painting them there. It's actually creating an area. So you're going to get all the advantages of an area. So I'm previewing changes, confirm changes. So now that's showing up in the hierarchy as an area, and then we can go and we can edit it either one node at a time or by painting out even further elements. But you can see here, like once you use the brush tool, it's just not as optimized. And so while I'm glad we have this feature, I think placing areas one point at a time is going to be the best way to do it in most cases. I just want to continue through some of these area presets. So we've got a number of trees and shrubs. We've also got this generic crops where, if you're doing something adjacent to a road and you want to show something that looks like farmland, you can quickly do that. And then I think the grass, actually, I'm going to jump to, I think this is a new example project. We just call it empty slabs, but you can see here, it's just kind of a different way to do a blank scene. So I think 3D grass is probably going to be the most common use of the areas tool. And in addition to placing those grass pieces, we do have some more tools over here in the details panel. Like you can control the area fill percent. So if I wanted to be 25%, I can do that. 100%, I can do that. It's being a little buggy right now, but for the most part, that's how grass placement works. Again, we've got some presets, or you can do it straight from our library. Or like, let's say that you like this fescue grass, but you know that we have a dry version. So I can type fescue, or it's right here, fescue grass brown. And so that's going to switch out for the brown version. So there's a number of ways that you can place and edit the grass. And then also we've got area highlights, which hopefully will be very useful for, construction staging type diagrams. You can place and edit any of those. You can place more nodes. And then this uses the same uh, library of arrows as the pathway arrows. And you can control things like speed and rotation and scale. And then you can also obviously control the color too. So there's a lot of things you can do. We even have things like water droplets. So if you wanted to show, flow of water, you can do that. And then even some types of like hatching, and that's really nice. Like basically anything you can do in Civil 3D as far as like denoting various areas, you can do something similar now using the area highlight tool. So we just got a few presets, but there's just way more options once you get into the details panel there. We also have what's called collections, and it's kind of like the preset for vegetation, but the collections combines not just like trees, but also trees and brush and rocks so that we can quickly get like a forest. There's a bug on this one too. But you can quickly get a forest and it has all of those different elements. This is more dense than it should be. But like desert for here, for example, we've got cacti, we've got rocks, and we've got brush. So we've got three different collections. If there are more you'd like to see, they're not too hard to add, but I think these are just nice for quick things. And then we've got rocks and water and blank. And if you just wanted to place a blank one, right now I have the area visualizer off, but you can turn that on for all of them, and then you can add asset slots and add them as necessary. And we're making a ton of training material on how to use all this stuff. A lot of it's intuitive. We're trying to make our stuff very easy to use, but those are really, they're working really well right now. All right, so let me jump to another example project. You guys are probably familiar with this one. And a call out for, we're always looking for base models. We're looking for example projects. We've got this one from Ardura. We've also got one from HMH Engineers. Marvin Klassen has provided us one that's not part of the delivered version of Civil Engine, but you can download it clicking this more example projects. So if you do have a good base model or a good Civil Engine model, if you've been working on it, we could really use that to just add more examples. So the next thing I want to show is we've added much improved trucks. So if you saw the trucks before, they were low quality and just kind of placeholders. But now we have two that are turned on by default. It's the same truck, but one of them is gray and one of them is white. So you can control the distribution of vehicles. So by default, this is about 10% of the vehicles should show up as these, but you can turn that up. And we have a number of other another number of other trucks. So if I go to commercial truck, you can turn these all on and you can check those out, especially if I go back to type and I turn this up, force it on all paths. This may or may not turn it on the pedestrian paths, which will be interesting. But I just want to show that we have a number of different truck models in there, including some of these other types. So anyway, those are much improved, lots of different variety, and you can turn those on as much as you want for your project. And then in addition to that, let me just reload this project, is much improved articulation. I just shared something, I believe it was yesterday on LinkedIn, about how our articulation has been something we've been working on for a long time, and we just have a new update this week where it's much improved, and that's going to make it so much better for those projects with trucks, which is most projects. But you can see here, if I zoom in on this truck and I speed it up a little bit, there's just so much better articulation. And they did the thing where the back end would flip around all the time, and it doesn't do that anymore as well. So that's really exciting. All the wheels turn, they articulate, they look much better, they've got reflections. So that's exciting. And then as part of the traffic system, we also have down here, you saw me turn on the area visualizer. You can turn these on separately now, area, path, or stop bar. And if you turn on the stop bar visualizer, now those are linked to the intersection controllers. And so they're going to display based on what that current phase is. So you can see here the traffic is stopped. Turn on the path visualizer and leave this on and speed up my traffic. And you'll see that those things turn on and off. And so I don't know if you'll use this for renderings, but this is really nice when you're setting up your intersection controllers for testing, that you have that control now. And then this was kind of an aha moment. Again, I shared a video about this on LinkedIn, but most of you probably know by now that I'm kind of obsessed with visual graphics, just different ways to visually communicate projects and integrating a lot of those tools into Civil Engine. And so now we have the ability to have a type of vehicle that's basically an arrow. So if I want to go to green arrow, turn it on and then make it 100%, turn all these down, force it on all of our paths. There are better ways to do this, but this is the quick way. And now I reset my traffic, then all those vehicles are going to show up as arrows. And this is, I mean, we have pathway arrows, which is nice, but this is super cool because now these are they're going to honor those intersection controllers. And so now this is just a new way to visually communicate your project. So we've got several different colors and sizes of those, and we can add more based on like how people will actually use them. You can see here we've even got pedestrian ones here, and you could change those to be smaller arrows if you wanted to, but that's something that's pretty cool in the new version. All right, so now I'm going to move to some new assets that we have. I'm going to go back to this empty slabs project and show that we have, and this is something I think that a lot of people have wanted, and that is energy assets. And so we've got a number of different windmills, and they are animated. You can control the scale of them. These are pretty big by default. But then we've also got some transmission towers in this energy section of the asset library. And we've got a bunch of solar panels as well. And so make sure to check those out. This is going to be super nice for both energy direct projects or energy adjacent projects. If you just want some, if you want some windmills in the distance, we have that option, for example. Also have a few new types of palm trees. And this is, I'm in the Southwest, and we just have so many of these types of trees, and we didn't have them in the library before. And so we've added them. I think they're called like Washingtonia palms, but those are in there now and they weren't before. And then we're going to have a whole section related directly to end treatments. We only have 4 of them right now, but we'll have over a dozen here shortly. And this is really nice because we've just had comments where people, they love our tools to be able to place barrier rail, but you don't just place barrier rail, you also need to have an end treatment. And so by adding this section in the asset library, now we can add that to the end, and then we just need to rotate it. And we're trying to make it so that the pivot point will make it as easy as possible to put those on. So this is like a concrete end treatment, but we're going to do like guardrail end treatments and attenuator end treatments and so on. So I think that's going to be very useful, especially in conjunction with some of these really nice path presets like barrier rail and guardrail. All right. So now we're going to move to dynamic assets. I'm going to reset this project. And got a number of new types of dynamic assets. The first one is we've got a crane as a construction asset. I still got to fix the textures here, but this one's really cool because not only can we choose which animation, like the other ones. So we've, you can use lift only, you can do full cycle, you can do idle deployed, you can do lift and turn. But the nice thing about this one is that we have attachment options. And so we have beam, we have 2 different types of beam, concrete and steel, and we have pipe, we've got stacked pipe, and then we've even got some rebar cages for drilled shafts. Again, these are like the little details. I'm a licensed civil engineer. Brian's a licensed civil engineer. We work with them on testing and development of the software. These are the little things that they're not available anywhere else. And we hope that putting them in really make this software useful and special for these types of projects. So I'll delete that guy. And then the next one I want to show is we now have some animals. So again, these are for like farmland adjacent. If you were dealing with something with cows, for example, you can do that. And then each of these have a number of different animations. And then the one I'm really excited about, and I really want to do like an example project with this. If you go to the forest animals and you switch it, you'll see that we've got some deer. And there are just so many projects these days of animal crossings. And so now I really want to, again, do some sort of example project where you can have these animals using the Animal Crossing. Obviously, there are so many projects associated with safety as it pertains to animals, so you could do it there as well. But I think that's going to be something that's pretty nice for some of those specialty projects. And then for those hunters among us, there's also these it just got shot and it died animations. They were just part of the pack, so we included them. All right. And then let me delete those ones. And then the last one that I want to show with our example projects is we have a number of new signs. Again, this is often requested when we're doing demos or talking to people. And not just signs, but these are MUTCD signs. And so what I mean by that, and they're divided into 6 different sections. So if you place them, let's get them all placed. We even have a UK sign for those that are working overseas. But you place these, and then each of them has a drop down with a full list. And these have the MUTCD naming convention. And so these are going to be useful for projects that specifically request these types of signs. They are the official like sign type. And I think that's going to be really nice for those types of projects. So like warning sign, I should zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. You can choose which one you actually want. So these ones aren't as useful of like, I'm going to see the thumbnail and this is the one I want to place. It's more like I know exactly what sign that is, and I need to place it to represent in my project. All right. Now I'm going to move to some new types of paths. I'll delete these ones. We have a few different type of pavement markings. So I think these are new. We've got 2-lane, no passing. So I don't know how often these will be used, but these are really nice if you're just like quickly testing things out. You can place these and just start kind of prototyping very quickly or making adjustments. These have several different asset slots, and then you can adjust the spacing and the offset and so on. So these are good like templates to get started sometimes. So those are nice. And then we also have, and credit to Brian on the suggestion, but a railroad with ties. And this is just, I mean, when you understand the path tool and what it is and what it does, like this one just makes so much sense from the standpoint of a preset. Excuse me. All right, excuse me. All right, and then the last one that I want to show here is the fact that we now have some aircraft as well. And I'll turn on the path tools for this, the path visualizer, I mean. So we've got a small airplane and a large airplane. And uh, the wheels don't turn on these. Don't get too greedy. Um, but this is just a cool way where you can, again, once you understand the path tool, once you understand how our traffic system works, this was just a very natural extension, and you can adjust whatever you want. If you want them just to be taxiing on a runway, or if you want them to be taking off, you have full control over that. You have control over the speed, and you can leave that path visualizer on while testing, and then you can turn it off for rendering. Again, projects specifically related to airports, we've received a number of questions about that, or projects adjacent to airports, or maybe you just want to show some aircraft in the background of your video. All right, the next one I want to show is, let's go to this one. And this was, we just snuck at this in the other day, and again, I'm kind of obsessed over visual graphics, visual styles, finding different ways to communicate our project. And now here in the bottom left, we've got camera settings and we've got scene effects. And if you've used Beyond Typicals, we've got these in there as well. But you click that, and now it just gives an overlay over your scene, and then you can control a number of different aspects like line opacity, paper opacity, if you want kind of a blended look, your line width, if you want something thicker. If anyone's used something like SketchUp, like this kind of gives you that level of control. And this works in real time in preview. It also works for renderings. And then we've got crosshatch, and that's kind of a strong one, but we can control the strength of that by turning on the opacity or turning down the opacity. And then the last one is we've got ballpoint pen, and I think this one might actually be my favorite one. I just think this is so cool. It it helps communicate. Sometimes we want to just show like preliminary things, uh, or we're trying to communicate something specifically. But I honestly, like, these make it so that visualization is just so much more accessible, because once we're using these, what the mountains in the background, the buildings in the distance, they just don't matter as much. You don't have to focus as much on this. It kind of like papers over a lot of the the issues or the inconsistencies of a project. And I just think these scene effects are a really useful tool for visualization in general. And I might even try and sneak in a few more before our public launch in a couple weeks. And then one thing I want to show as well, we have I was testing this with compositing, which is a huge part of Beyond Typicals and will be a huge part of Civil Engine. And I was just so excited that this works with compositing. I just think it's just another option we have to communicate our projects. I mean, clearly, when you're using scene effects, it's like this is a draft, this is a concept. We can do the full render if we want, but we can do these scene effect versions as well. So I'm excited for you guys to be able to test that out when we do release this full version in a few weeks. And then I've just a few other things. We now have a number of different ways to do water. One of those is path preset. So the best way to do this, like for, let's say we wanted to do a river that's 100 foot wide, we can do that. And then you want to go here into the settings and turn on high quality water. And that's going to give you a lot better quality. We've got lake, we've got river, and we've got ocean. And so that's kind of a nice option. And then we can do the same thing with our area presets. And same thing as before. If you turn on high quality water, and I should play something so you can see that, so that you can see that we've got some reflectivity here. And then again, we've got the same options as before: lake, river, that's path. Lake, river, and ocean. So we've got those options. In addition to, you can import something and apply a water from our material library, which honestly it's just not that great. That's something we need to improve. But one of the best ones is just using this water cube and scaling it up. That one seems to work okay as well. But the long story short is the fact that you just have a lot of options for water now. And I'm going to jump to another project while I explain this next thing to show just it really looks good in context with, other elements like our other textures and assets. You can make water look pretty good now. And while I'm in this scene, I want to show one of the other features that we have now, which is the sequencer. So I've mentioned, I think we had phasing for beta. And so this is really cool. We can set up this complicated phasing Gantt chart here. But now we have sequencer, and that's basically video editing. So let me show you from kind of the basics. Let's say I want to make a few new video cameras. So let's make a new one that kind of goes from here to here. So now we're like kind of far away, and then I want to make another one that's up close. We want to show some detail. And maybe you want to make 5 of these. And then traditionally, or in other workflows, you'd have to render all those videos out, take it out to some sort of video editing software and combine them together, add text and all that. The sequencer allows you to do all of that right within Civil Engine. So if I go to my cameras, I believe this was video set C and video set D. So now I've added both of these, and it's glitching around. But either way, we've got both of these in there. And so you can combine them and render them all together. And we can also add text. So if I select this track, add text, you'll see down here in the bottom left, we can change what that text says. I think I have to select it. There we go. Yeah. So, and then you can control the size, and then that will be part of the render as well. And then the thing that really ties us all together is the fact that we can add phasing. So I showed you that we have that chart, and let's add a new track. Add basic track, add new chart. Let's delete this one. And let's control this to be shorter. So essentially, all of that phasing that we did in the Gantt chart, we are compressing into this single orange bar. And so now, let me take this video out and put in a different one. So now we can control our phase or show our phasing with those cameras as well. So you can see that that phasing is going through while the cameras are moving. So long story short, you're kind of the publisher. You are the director of your video or whatever story you're trying to tell. You can do that all from the sequencer, and then you can render that all as a single video file. Eventually, we're going to add more things like the ability to add audio or video clips. We don't have that yet, but the sequencer is already pretty exciting. All right, so that's the main things that are new. You can see we've been very busy. We hope to sneak in a few more things by the end. But I want to show also, if you go to our website, beyondcad.com, we now have BC University, and this is Beyond CAD University. And this is a combination of efforts that we've done over the last couple of years of making tutorials, especially for Beyond Typicals, in addition to new things. And part of what you're seeing here is like we're going from a single product company to a multi-product company. And so it's like, how do we handle that on our website? How do we handle that on our licensing, and so on? And this is how we're going to handle the tutorials. So you can go here and you can click and see all that we have for Beyond Typicals now. And then you can see all that we've been creating for Civil Engine. And so there's what we're calling Civil Engine 101, which is like a tutorial series where when you watch these 8 videos, you can be very proficient with the software in, it's probably hopefully 5 hours or less. You do have to sit through my droning voice. I apologize. I don't know a way to get around that yet. We'll get there eventually. There's also some other resources like base modeling, importing best practices. You can schedule a call with us here. And then we've got a number of civil visualizing with Sam videos. And these are where I go like from base model to final production. And so all of these resources are on the Civil Engine page of our Beyond CAD University. So we put a lot of work into that. Again, this is like part of our pricing includes all of this stuff that we invest in. All right, let me go back to my PowerPoint and then we will open it up to questions shortly. So remaining updates between now and the 15th, we've got about 2 weeks left. We're doing some more bug fixes and UI improvements. We've got to publish it to the Epic Game Launcher. So it'll be the same distribution as Beyond Typicals. You can go through Epic Game Launcher, which is best if you can, because you'll get the updates without having to re-download, or you can do a zipped file download, which especially a lot of our enterprise customers use because they can deploy it on their virtual machines. Civil Engine Cloud is going to be coming soon. I honestly don't think that that's going to be very useful for power users just because there's so much uploading and downloading. And once you render a 4K video, then you got to download it to your computer. That makes more sense, I think, for Beyond Typicals. But Civil Engine Cloud, I think, is going to be especially useful for testing it out. And then also, like, maybe you want to access it somewhere where you don't have your computer or you want to show something to someone else. Civil Engine Cloud allows that cloud GPU streaming so you don't have to rely on a computer with a GPU. And then we might try to sneak in a few more other things like Material Paint Picker for texturing base models. We still don't have that. And then possibly Explore mode for vehicles. We still don't have that. All right. And then beyond this version, this launch, we're going to switch our focus to Beyond Typicals 4.0. Hopefully late summer or fall, we'll get that out. And a lot of Beyond Typicals 4.0 is going to be like civil engineering it. We're going to take all of the new assets and materials and some of the features and bring them over. And so Beyond Typicals 4 should just be so much better than version 3 even is. Eventually, we want to get to things like bake traffic, presenter mode, publish to web. They're just not going to be in this version, but we do want to get to them someday. We do have some really exciting plans around AI integrations, so expect to see some announcements about that in the summer or fall. And then we might get to a version 1.x in late 2025 or 2026 of Civil Engine, depending on how Beyond Typicals 4 goes. All right, your role in supporting us. I mean, there's so many of you. This is just, I really didn't expect so much interest in Civil Engine. I think this means that we're going to be able to invest in this for the long term. Like it's just going to keep getting better the bigger our community gets. So the beta version is still free to use. We do have a public roadmap. It's changed a little bit. So if you go to products and Civil Engine and go to roadmap, We're now using Trello. So you can see it in detail, but you do need to create an account. But we do have a few individuals that have done that if you want to see what's going on. We don't want to hide anything on our roadmap. So you can always ask us, but you can see that's something that we update on a regular basis. You can also communicate in our Teams chat or LinkedIn groups. We still need good base models. Again, if it's small enough, we'll include it in as an example project in the delivery of Civil Engine, or we might just use it for marketing and do our best to give you credit as part of that. And then the beta version that you've been using, we had two versions, beta 1 and beta 2. Both of them have a kill switch in them where the licensing is going to, watermarks are going to turn on after May 15th. And so you'll need to move to the public version and buy a license or start a free trial at that point. But your CE files, your Civil Engine files will still work in the public version, the version 1. And then that 30-day free trial will be starting soon. If not before the 15th, then on the 15th. As a reminder, we've started offering our own services beyond CAD Studio. For those of you that don't know, for 6 years, I had a company called Civil FX, and we were a 3D visualization shop for these types of projects. We're starting to offer those. We've already worked with several clients. Honestly, we haven't focused on this because we've been so focused on Civil Engine, but I do think offering this is going to allow more growth of Civil Engine because not everyone has those good base models yet. I think eventually more and more people will be doing it, but until then, we can help you bridge the gap by offering you a quote, and you can hire us to build those for us. All right, so I'm going to switch to questions and answers, and I can show you anything in Civil Engine as well. So Brian, I'll turn it over to you to ask if we've received any questions yet.
We've received quite a few, and I've done my
Okay.
very best to answer them in the chat. I've made a couple of screenshots, so I think we're up to date. But I think we're going to get some flooding in here. Do you still see a need to use Beyond Typicals if we become a Civil Engine user? It seems that Civil Engine can do everything Beyond Typicals can do.
That's a good question. So they're different products with different purposes. If you wanted to do a typical section in Civil Engine, it would actually be kind of hard. It'd be a pain because you'd have to go model those as a base model in something like SketchUp and then bring them in, texture them, place traffic on them. And then if something changed, you'd have to go through that whole process. Beyond Typicals is powerful because that's all real time and instant and done instantly. And so you could do this stuff in Civil Engine, but it'd be a huge pain, especially if you've been using Beyond Typicals a lot. So most of our customers seem to be planning on using both of these products because they do stuff so differently. Someday, maybe we can make a super duper version of Civil Engine that does everything automatically and it's combined, but we're just not there yet. That's years down the road. So for now, most people will want to use both of them. But if you want to try and do a typical section in Civil Engine, be my guest. I just don't think it will be very fun.
Awesome. We got a question. I try to respond to this, but any updates to vehicle merging? I think that's just a good opportunity to talk about how intersection controllers and links will be, or advanced traffic will remain in beta.
Yeah, and that's a good thing that I didn't point out is you'll see these tags throughout the UI. So we got this blue B, that's for beta. And then we've got another one that you'll see, which is like this orange double exclamation mark. And whenever you see that, that's just like warning, you're about to do something that's going to slow down your GPU. So we're trying to like do our best to communicate those elements to you. So I mentioned before, intersection controllers have become very solid, but our merge diverge, we just haven't had the ability or the opportunity to really focus on improving that yet. And so I can show you where it is in its current status. Let's turn on our path visualizers so we can see this. So the way it works is we go to links and then we add a new one down here at the bottom. And we go from one to the other. And you can see now we've got this link, and then we can control all the parameters of that link. So in theory, this is going to be it's going to work really well. I think this is a good implementation. The challenge is it's just not, we just haven't fine-tuned it. Again, it's just a matter of limited development and a number of features that we still want to get to. Sometimes they just don't go over, or if they do, they merge through other cars. So this is how it will work. It's just not fully implemented yet. And then sometimes our traffic library is buggy as well. I mean, this is this is super cool that you can control the distribution or the vehicle types um, globally or per path, but they're just sometimes when I use it where it doesn't do what I expect it to do. One other thing I do want to point out though is we do have, so our theory on the traffic library is we're going to make it monochromatic by default. So you're going to see a lot of grays, whites, blacks, no colors, because that's just, in my experience, when you have a lot of colorful cars, it's distracting. And usually we want to make the project the highlight, not a random pink car. But we did add some more colors in here. So our traffic library, what you see is like our default. It's like kind of what we choose, but you can go in and you can add, some reds and some blues and some yellows. And if we apply that to all paths, then you'll start to see those showing up as well. So we do have some more colorful vehicles, both cars, SUVs, and trucks that you can start to integrate into traffic library. Okay, next question.
I don't see any new ones. I could probably pull in some of the ones I've tried to respond to. Oh, we just got a new message. Are any terrain tools expected to be added, like filling in gaps in the proposed base model?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I've seen that in other visualization engines, stuff like Lumion. It's not, it's definitely not in this version, and it's not on our immediate roadmap. That's just not kind of the purpose of what we're trying to do. Like, we want to make a really, really good visualization engine for your base model, but we're not really augmenting that other than what I've shown you with like paths and pavement markings. But as far as terrain, the challenge is like whenever you change the terrain, it's probably not going to now represent what it is in the real world. So terrain tools are really cool for like video games, but when it's an actual project, like it's just a much more difficult problem to solve and it becomes much less useful. So for those reasons, we haven't prioritized it, and I don't know when we will. Maybe at some point, but not in the near future.
Yeah, we had a similar comment. It looks like it's been removed, but a similar thing about like, can you use nodes of the base model to kind of adjust where they are? And that's, yeah, like Sam said, that's basically that's your model, that's your base modeling. And this also came up about OBJ and FBX imports, and we have the ability to import a base model as an FBX or an OBJ, but then also assets as separate FBX and OBJs, and they kind of behave differently. A base model is actually like the surface can be tracked to. If you're placing the nodes of a path, it will track along that finished grade of a base model. And then if you're importing in assets, maybe it's a specific tree or a building or something like that that would sit on top of the base model. Those just get imported differently. There's this tab that Sam's got here in the top right. There's tabs at the top, and there's import new there highlighted in blue. And depending on which tab you have activated is which type of asset or base model you're importing.
Yeah, and we've developed a lot of training information about the difference between base models and assets and why you would want to use one over the other. I mean, the biggest thing is when you import a base model, it's going to track the surface of the terrain, which is really useful for placing traffic or assets or paths or whatever. Whereas an asset, when you import it as an asset, it's not going to track that stuff. So that's like if you wanted to import your own park bench, you don't want things to try and track on top of that. You want it to be kind of like a library asset. So like I just imported this as a base model. If I try to place a tree on top of it, it's not going to track that. It's going to be different, and that's by design. So it's not going on top of that because I imported that as an imported asset.
Cool. Joaquin asked for basically a highlight video, probably on the shorter end. We have plenty of stuff on our YouTube page. We're putting stuff up on LinkedIn all the time, but we do plan on putting out what Sam and I are calling kind of a sizzle reel that might be 2.5, 3 minutes long. We'll basically closer to launch. We'll probably have like a more formal video trailer. So yeah, that'll be up on our website in places. It'll be on our YouTube channel. So just keep on the lookout there.
Yeah, that's going to be one of my big projects next week. This is like the early version, but just kind of a sizzle reel showing all that it can do, all the best renders that we've seen, and look to see that. One of the way you guys can help too is on May 15th, I'm going to be posting this on LinkedIn and on YouTube. if you're like, I love what Sam's doing, but I can't like purchase this right now, like totally understand. But just sharing this, like resharing it on your thing, if we get a lot of people to reshare it, that's going to be super useful for what we're doing as well. So yeah, this trailer is something that that I'm really focused on next week.
Awesome. Any other questions? We do have a few more minutes. Right. Well, I'm not seeing a lot. So what I'm going to do is in the chat, if you haven't downloaded beta, you do have the availability to use Civil Engine beta from now until May 15th, so about 2 weeks. You can just sign up at that page. It'll take you to a download page. You can open Civil Engine on your computer. You just activate it with a code that's listed there on the download page. Try it out for free. It will deactivate on May 15th, though. So at that time, on the 15th, you would be able to go to our website and download version 1. So you would need to download a new version to get started in maybe a free trial or a paid subscription. Our subscriptions will be activated on May 15th. So if we've already been in talks of getting you set up with a license, all of that will happen in about 2 weeks. And if you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out. I'm just hearing from Sam that his PC crashed when he shared this video. So it's on me to close this out. So I'm seeing a lot of folks saying thank you. We really appreciate all of your support for our alpha testers, for our beta testers, for anyone that's interested in to us just generally and just to staying up to date with what BeyondCAD is doing. We really appreciate your help. Thank you so much. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out, Brian@beyondcad.com or Sam@beyondcad.com, and we are happy to help you. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for those of you that are still here. I had a crash, but I'm back just to say goodbye. Talk to you later.